In Korean folklore, there is no angel of death. There is something worse, a figure in black who never runs, because he never needs to. The Jeoseung Saja, the death messenger. And if you've seen Netflix's K-pop Demon Hunters, those Saja boys, they were inspired by this. The real thing is not a boy band. The real thing does not sing. It knocks once, and you go. The Jeoseung Saja serves Yomra, the king of the underworld. He carries a wooden staff called the Jeoseung Pei. Your name is already written on it before he arrives. He wears a black dopo robe, a wide-brimmed gat hat, and his face, those who have glimpsed him in the space between heartbeats say his face holds no hatred, no anger, just the patience of something that has never once been refused. In a quiet village in Joseon-era Korea, there lived a young scholar named Young-ho. He spent his days painting calligraphy and his nights reading poetry to his wife, So-hee. She would laugh at his terrible pronunciation of classical Chinese. He would pretend to be offended. They had been married 3 years and still looked at each other like it was the first morning. Then autumn came early that year, and so he began to cough. At first, just a sound like dry leaves. Then it became wet, heavy. The physician came and left without meeting Young-ho's eyes. That night, Young-ho held her hand and felt how thin her fingers had become, like holding a bird's wing made of paper.
Don't look at me like that. I'm still here.
Young-ho heard a village tale, that the Jeoseung Saja comes at the moment a dying person's candle goes out. So he lit every candle in the house, dozens of them. The room glowed like a small sun. He knelt before the family shrine and begged, not to any god in particular, just to whatever was listening. Let her stay. One more season. One more month. Please. The candles went out. All of them. At once. Not blown, extinguished, as if the flames had simply decided to leave. And in the doorway stood a figure that made the winter air feel warm by comparison.
Young-ho, I have come for So-hee.
His voice was not loud. It did not need to be. It was the kind of voice that mountains would obey.
No, take me instead. I'll go willingly. Just let her live. That is not how this works, scholar. Her name is on the Jeoseung Pei, not yours. I do not choose. I only collect.
The Saja did not blink. Young-ho was not sure he had eyelids. Young-ho remembered something his grandmother told him, that in the old times there were those who outwitted the Saja. Not by force, the Saja cannot be harmed, but by story, by puzzle, by making death curious enough to pause.
Then let me ask you one question. If you answer truthfully, I'll step aside. If you cannot answer, give her 3 more days.
The Saja tilted his head. 1 degree. It was the most human gesture Young-ho had ever seen from something that was not human.
Ask. In all the souls you have collected, 10,000, 100,000, 1,000,000, has there ever been one who was ready?
Silence. Not the silence of a room, the silence of a world holding its breath. The Saja stood perfectly still. For the first time in an eternity that had no beginning, he did not have an answer on his tongue. Then, slowly, like stone cracking in winter,
1.
Young-ho waited. The Saja's voice, when it came again, was different. Not softer, older, as if it had been locked in a chest for centuries and was breathing for the first time.
There was one. She was not brave, she was not holy, she was a mother. And when I came for her son, she said, "Wait, let me hold him once more, then you may take us both." I had never been asked to wait. No one asks death to wait. 3 days. Not because you outwitted me, because you reminded me of something I thought I had forgotten.
And then he was gone. Not walked away, not vanished, simply was no longer there. like a shadow when the sun moves. For 3 days, the candles burned. So-hee's color returned like ink seeping back into a painting. They did not speak of the visitor. Instead, Yong-ho read her the worst poetry he could find, and she laughed until tears came. He cooked her juk, rice porridge, the way her mother used to make it. On the second night, she whispered,
Whatever you did, thank you. But don't fight it again when he comes back. Let me go gently.
On the third night, Yong-ho felt the air change. The candles flickered. Not out, just trembled, as if they too were afraid.
He's here, isn't he?
It was not a question. She said it the way you say, "It's raining," a fact that requires no confirmation. The Saja appeared in the doorway again. Same robe, same hat, same face made of patience. But before Yong-ho could speak, So-hee sat up, on her own, for the first time in weeks.
I know you. I've been dreaming of you. You're not as frightening as they say.
No one has ever said that to me.
That's because they only see the hat and the robe. I see the one underneath. You're tired, too.
Something moved behind the Saja's eyes. Not a tear, he was beyond tears. Something older. The weight of having been the last face that 1,000,000 people ever saw. Of carrying names on a wooden staff and never being allowed to cross one out.
I do not tire. I am duty.
Even duty can be lonely.
The Saja said nothing, which, for a being who always had the last word, said everything. So he turned to Yong-ho. She touched his face with fingers that were already growing cold.
Read me one more terrible poem.
He tried. His voice broke on the second line. She smiled, closed her eyes, and when the Saja extended his hand, she took it, like a friend helping you across a stream. The candles came back, all at once, as if embarrassed they had ever gone out. The room was warm again, but the space beside Yong-ho on the sleeping mat was cold. He sat there until dawn, holding a jade binyo hairpin, her wedding gift, and wondered if somewhere in Jeoseung, the afterlife, she was laughing at a terrible poem. In Korea, they say the Jeoseung Saja is not evil. He is the final errand runner of fate. He does not enjoy his work. He does not hate it. He simply arrives, like winter, like gravity, like the last page of every story. But sometimes, on nights when the candles flicker for no reason, they say even the Saja pauses and remembers a woman who called him tired, and a scholar who asked if anyone was ever ready. And for one breath, just one, the space between this world and the next grows a little wider, and someone, somewhere, gets 3 more days.